All right, let's dive into something that affects literally millions of people, but is still, super misunderstood. We're talking about adult ADHD. For so many, it's this invisible, daily struggle that can impact everything, from your job to your relationships.
I mean, have you ever felt like you're just fighting your own brain? Like one minute you've got all this energy, and the next you just can't bring yourself to start the simplest thing. Or maybe your thoughts feel like this jumbled knot that you just can't untangle.
Yeah, if any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are so not alone. So today, let's pull back the curtain a bit and get a real, clear picture of what's actually going on in the often misunderstood world of adult ADHD.
Okay, first things first, we gotta talk about what this feels like on the inside, because it's so much more than just being distracted. It's this constant, unseen struggle that's going on.
So right at the core of ADHD, you have this thing called executive functioning. The best way to think about it is like the CEO or the project manager of your brain. These are the skills that help you plan, organize, and just get stuff done. And when that manager is totally swamped or, just not working at full capacity, the whole operation can feel like absolute chaos.
Okay, so what does that chaos actually look like? Well, a big part of it is inattention. But we're not just talking about daydreaming. It's that intense struggle to stay focused on anything that isn't super interesting to you. It's making those little careless mistakes. It's that constant forgetfulness that pops up in your day-to-day.
And this is a perfect real-world example of that forgetfulness. Telling a story you've already told someone because you genuinely don't remember telling them. And listen, this isn't about not caring. The science behind it suggests the brain is just having a really hard time filtering out all the noise, which makes it tough to lock in new memories and pull up old ones.
And all of this leads straight into huge challenges with organization and motivation. It's that feeling where you desperately want to get going on something, but just thinking about the first step feels like climbing a mountain. It's overwhelming. And this is where those awful labels come from, right? People call you lazy or unmotivated, when the reality is, it's a symptom of how your brain is wired.
Now here's a massive misconception we need to clear up. When you hear hyperactivity, you probably picture a kid literally bouncing off the walls. But in adults, it's usually not like that at all. It's more of an internal thing. It's this deep feeling of restlessness, like you can't sit still on the inside, a kind of tension or anxiety that just won't let you relax.
And this next one, this is a huge piece of the puzzle that gets missed all the time. We're talking about emotional dysregulation. Get this, something like 70% of adults with ADHD deal with it. It basically means your emotions are dialed up to 11. You feel things more intensely, your frustration tolerance is super low, and you might have these big reactions to things that seem small to other people. And because of this, it's so often mistaken for other things like anxiety or depression.
Okay, so if all these signs are so clear and so significant, why on earth do so many adults fly completely under the radar? Well, it turns out ADHD is a master of disguise.
And I mean, just look at this number. It's absolutely staggering. It's estimated that fewer than 20% of adults with ADHD actually get a proper diagnosis and treatment. That means millions, literally millions of people are out there struggling and they don't even know why.
So what are the roadblocks? Well, first, there's this old, outdated idea that it's just a kid thing you grow out of. Plus, like we said, the symptoms just look different in adults. Then you've got it being misdiagnosed as anxiety or depression, which can also be happening at the same time. And a big one is masking, where adults get really good at creating complicated systems to hide their symptoms. You throw stigma on top of all that, and yeah, you can see how it stays hidden.
But the good news is, it is never ever too late to get answers. And that path to getting a diagnosis, it can be absolutely life-changing. It's like finally getting the instruction manual to your own brain after a lifetime of confusion.
Now, getting diagnosed isn't always a simple one-size-fits-all process. The methods can actually be pretty different depending on where you are. You might see a clinician-centered approach which really hinges on one expert's judgment using interviews and scales, or you might see a team-based model which is way more comprehensive. They bring in a whole team and look at input from everywhere, like family or old school reports, to build a full picture.
But you know what? No matter how they get there, the feeling for so many people is just profound relief. All those years of feeling lazy or stupid or just not good enough suddenly get reframed. It wasn't you. It wasn't a character flaw. It's that your brain is just wired differently. That's it.
And once you have that understanding, you can start to manage it. So, what does life actually look like on the other side of a diagnosis and treatment?
The benefits are just huge. I mean, the research is really clear on this. When you get the right treatment, you see a real drop in those core symptoms. And that's not just on paper. That translates into real life. We're talking about better relationships, a real boost in self-esteem, actually being able to get things done at work, and, this is a big one, a much, much lower risk for things like depression, substance use, and even accidents.
But hold on, there is one more piece to this puzzle. And frankly, it's a piece that can make or break everything when it comes to long-term success.
It's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking, okay, medication and therapy, that's the whole solution, right? And don't get me wrong, they are incredibly powerful tools, but are they the complete solution? What if the single biggest factor for success isn't the treatment itself? What if it's something external? The answer is right here, and honestly, it's a gut punch. Just look at the difference. On one side, you've got treatment, but no real support from family or friends. Yeah, things get better, but it's shaky. Emotional well-being is still a risk. But then you add that support system into the mix, the results are transformative. We're talking stable, solid improvement, better social skills, and those long-term risks, they just plummet. The takeaway here is so important. A supportive environment isn't just a nice-to-have. It is a critical, non-negotiable part of successful management.
And that's really the core of it, isn't it? A diagnosis isn't a label that limits you. It's an explanation that frees you. It's the key that unlocks the door to self-compassion and figuring out what actually works for your brain.
And for everyone else, for all of us, it leaves us with a really important question to ask ourselves. How can we be part of that supportive environment? Because understanding is just step one. The real work is in building the kinds of families, workplaces, and communities where every type of mind doesn't just survive, but can actually truly thrive.